Welcome back to Mogul Chicks Chat. I want to talk today about becoming the woman your business needs. This episode is intentionally deep, powerful, reflective, and hopefully activating. It's the kind of message that reshapes a CEO's identity and sets the tone for the entire Mogul Chicks universe. I am going to be combining my vision, my straight shooter commentary, and the ability to call women higher without making them feel judged. In other words, this episode is meant to hit the soul of the lady CEOs. So today's episode is one that I've been waiting for because I've really been sitting here gathering my thoughts, trying to see how I can figure out how do I make women CEOs kind of step up in the moment. Because everything we've done up until this point, the scaling, the systems, the profitability, the hiring, none of it matters if the woman that is leading the company has not evolved. Now, I know a lot of times you guys have heard me on social media tell people there's a difference between being a CEO and owning a business or running a business. There's a difference between having a business and owning a company. Well, today's episode, I'm going to give it all to you real and raw. It might get some people thinking, it might get some people upset, but either way, we're going to make sure that we all have evolved as CEOs because our businesses and our lives really depend on it. So before I get started, let's ask ourselves two questions. Am I ready to be a real CEO? And if so, what am I willing to do? What am I willing to change to make sure that I become an effective CEO for my company? Welcome back to another episode of Mogul Chicks Chat. I'm your host, Adrienne Graham. I'm the CEO and proud founder of Mogul Chicks, and that's Chicks with an X. I am a serial entrepreneur and a self-made businesswoman who is a strategic business growth advisor, talent management strategist, published author, mentor, investor, and podcast host. Mogul Chicks helps female founders grow and scale profitable, job-creating companies and eventually get them investment ready. We also help groom them into dynamic leaders and CEOs and build legacy wealth in the process. Mogul Chicks is a mindset, a way of life, if you will, and a blueprint for female founders who want to build a legacy of wealth and a generational business empire. We provide strategic business growth solutions and a platform for resources, mentoring, networks, education, and media that shares our stories. Our mission is to take your company from flat to profit generating to job creating to investment ready. My personal mission is to help you build and run a better company, reimagine the way you do business, and build lasting wealth. Oh, and before I forget, make sure you tag Mogul Chicks using the hashtag Mogul Chicks Chat on social media. Make sure you rate the show and leave a comment. It helps people find us. Share the love, share the love. Hey everyone, welcome back. And I am ready to have like this real talk conversation with you guys. So it probably will come across in a different tone or manner than my usual podcast. But, let's be real. Mogul Chicks Chat is where women CEOs come to build their companies and take hold of their power, their structure, their leadership, and their legacy. So it only stands to reason that I have this conversation with you guys. So I've talked a lot in the past episodes about your team and leadership and money and finance and all that good stuff, things that are components of building a company. But, women as CEOs have to evolve. You can upgrade your team, you can upgrade your systems, you can upgrade your offers. But if you don't upgrade yourself, that includes your identity, your leadership skills, your boundaries, your decisions, even your presence, your business will keep dragging you back to the version of yourself that you are trying desperately to outgrow. I don't know about you, but I look to always be evolving. I'm never comfortable with being stagnant or staying the same in any situation when it comes to my business and entrepreneurship. So today we're going to talk about becoming the woman your business needs, not the woman that the world told you that you need to be, but the woman that you need to become. So let's get into it. So let's start with your identity and being a real CEO. So let's start here. Your business doesn't scale because of what you know. It scales because of who you are. You know, your identity leads, your identity decides, your identity sets standards, it determines boundaries, shapes behavior, influences teams, and it regulates your emotions as well. Your identity determines what you tolerate, that's personally and in business, and it determines how far you'll go. So every bottleneck that you've experienced in this business so far has roots in your identity. Let me know if you've heard any of these. I don't trust people. I need to do everything myself. I'm afraid to charge more. I don't want to upset my clients. I don't want to look bossy. I don't want to be too visible. I don't want to fail publicly. These are not strategy issues that I just mentioned. These are identity fractures. And if you don't address them, no amount of tactics and no amount of advice that I can give you can help you overcome it. So let's start by identifying the 5 identities that hold women CEOs back. I'm going to expose the outdated identities that many of you unknowingly lead from. And, these identities are not bad. They're just no longer useful at the level that you're trying to go. I don't know about you, but my goal is to build a $100 million company. But I'm pretty sure that these can hold true for any of you, regardless of how much you're trying to grow your business. So let's talk about it. Identity number 1, the overachiever. Ooh, listen, I have been that overachiever, okay, all my life. She's the woman who proves her worth through output, through everything that she does and accomplishes. That degree, that certification, that winning that contract. She believes doing more equals being more. And it really isn't. I learned that the hard way. It's about being strategic. It's about being of sound mind. And it's about making sure that you're not doing everything yourself. Identity number 2, the fixer. I've kind of been that too, I guess. This person swoops in to solve all the problems. And even the ones she hired people for, she steps in and still tries to fix those problems. It's like, you've been in the kitchen for all your life, and then you have a new cook comes in there and says, oh, I'm going to make this meal. I know how you like it. And then you're sitting at the counter just watching and paying attention. And every time the person makes a move, you say, no, I don't do it that way. No, that's too much pepper. No, that's not the seasoning I use. She always tries to step in and fix the problem when more times than not, there really isn't a problem, at least not one that needs to be addressed. Identity number 3, the peacemaker. I don't think I've ever been the peacemaker, but she sacrifices her own standards to avoid conflict. You know how that is. You ever heard somebody say, I don't like to argue. I'm just going to leave it alone and not get involved. I'm not the peacemaker, and I hope that you're not either. But those are the women that they put their own needs and their own wants and their own visions aside so that nobody gets upset with her. Identity number 4, the martyr. She equates the struggle with success. Rest feels like guilt to her. You know how it is. Oh, I've sacrificed so much. I work 15-hour work days. Oh, I put in 80 hours a week. She feels like the more she does and the more she sacrifices, that equals success, struggle, hustle kind of culture. And, the rest part, it's like, oh, I can't take a vacation. I can't take a day off because nothing would run if it wasn't for me. And I have to sacrifice everything. I can't even be at my school recital for my kids. You know how that works. Identity number 5, the underestimated one. She leads from self-doubt, even if she's already accomplished more than most ever will. Now, see, here's the kicker for this one. These identities once protected you. They've helped you survive. They help you achieve. They helped you build the beginnings of your business. But survival identities cannot create expansion because you're always looking to avert the next crisis. You're not looking ahead. You're not looking to see what the next step is in the process. You cannot build a multi-million-dollar company with the identity that was created for the purpose of just staying safe. So what does that mean? That means you need a new operating system. So let's talk about the future CEO within you with this new operating system. I want to talk about who you're becoming, the future version of you who's not overwhelmed. You're not flustered, scrambling, driven by fear, and you're definitely not apologizing for wanting more. This version of you is confident, clear, grounded, emotionally regulated, decisive, strategic, unbothered by the noise, rooted in your power, outrageously focused, expansive, not reactive, comfortable with boundaries, excellence, wealth, and being seen. This version does not lead from fear or judgment. She leads from clarity of vision. She does not see hiring as a risk or a bothered expense. She sees it as leverage. She does not see money as scarce. She sees it as fuel. She does not see herself as replaceable. She sees herself as the architect. She does not shrink. She rises to every occasion. Does that sound powerful to you? I hope it does. I want you to take a moment, even if you have to replay that segment, I want you to take a moment and think about it. These are the makings of your future CEO self. So let's talk about the 7 pillars of CEO identity. I want to talk about the architecture because identity is not just about mindset. It's about structure. And believe it or not, every element of you being a CEO requires structure. So here are the 7 pillars of a powerful CEO identity. Pillar 1, self-authority. You trust your decisions, your instincts, your standards, and your leadership. You move powerfully because you trust yourself. There's a lot of times that people don't trust themselves. They second guess themselves because of the say-so of other people, of outsiders, of loved ones who may be well-intentioned, but they don't know what you deal with in the day-to-day. Don't give them any energy. Don't let them talk you into or out of anything that has to do with your business. Pillar number 2, boundary discipline. Oh, listen. I have been here. You have to learn how to say no. No is a complete sentence in case you haven't heard that. I had to learn. It took me years to learn that. You need to limit your access to yourself. I used to be that one that's like, hey, I don't live up in an ivory tower. As a matter of fact, I did an Essence an article with an interview for Essence magazine. And I had made a comment about, I don't live in any high ivory tower. I'm very reachable, very touchable, very down to earth. You have to limit yourself. The higher you climb and the more accomplished you become, you have to limit access. And it's not being rude or anything, but it is just necessity because your time changes. Your vision changes. Everything changes. You delegate without guilt. You have to give things to people without feeling guilty. You protect your time. Listen, I just said you can't be touchable by everybody. Time is a commodity that you cannot get back. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters for excellence and they're filters for the non-negotiable. Pillar number 3, emotional regulation. You don't react, you respond. You don't panic, you plan. You don't explode, you evaluate. Your emotional state becomes your leadership superpower. How you respond to things, to certain stimuli, will get you further along in this world than how you react to them. So make sure that you think things through. You don't use your emotions. And I know I'm one to talk because sometimes I can go from 0 to 100 real quick, but I've learned to keep that under control. So when you're clear-headed and you think about things instead of reacting, you have better results. Pillar number 4, strategic detachment. You are invested, not entangled with your business. That means that you cannot be attached to an outcome of something. You can't do that. You have to take it day by day and keep it moving, because if you stay stuck on being attached to an outcome, you do yourself a disservice. You can make the tough decisions without self-betrayal. And detachment is how CEOs stay in their power. Pillar number 5, wealth comfort. You stop shrinking your prices and start raising them based on the value that your services and products provide to your clients. You stop apologizing for your ambition. Look, I said it a million times. I want $100 million company. That is what I'm building, and I'm unapologetic about being that ambitious. And you should be too. The world has really leveled the playing field in how to attain certain things these days. And I'm not saying everybody's going to build $100 million company, but it's possible if you take the chance, if you step out there on faith. You stop carrying guilt around success. Look, it is not your fault that you succeeded and your best friend did not. It is not your fault that you built a multi-million-dollar company and your cousin is struggling. You can be empathetic and even sympathetic, but don't you ever, ever downplay your success. Wealth requires emotional safety. And if you don't have that, any wealth you build will be lost. Point blank. Pillar number 6, leadership energy. You lead from confidence, not chaos, when you're a good CEO. You lead from clarity, not confusion, from certainty, and definitely not from insecurity. Your energy teaches your team how to treat the business. So if you walk around feeling down about your business or worrisome or complaining, that energy is going to translate to your team. And that's not what you want, because once the team loses their leader, they really have nothing left to hold on to. So you make sure that you keep that leadership energy in focus. And pillar number 7, vision embodiment. You act like the woman you're becoming, not the woman you've been. That is such a powerful statement. And the first time that I sat down and read it myself after I wrote it, it was such an eye-opener, because I'm always evolving. I always tell people I'm constantly in a state of evolving, and I never want to be the woman I was yesterday. You can carry some of the traits. You can love the accomplishments. You can even celebrate the things that you've done. But every day, every week, every month, every year, you should be striving to move further. Every decision aligns with your future identity, not with the present. This is embodiment. This is power and the shift that changes everything. So let's see, how do you become the woman that your business needs? Let's talk about the practical evolution of it, because identity is a choice, but transformation, that is practice, and that is power. So here's where you begin. I'm going to give you a couple of steps. So step 1, audit your identity. Audit your identity. So this is where you ask yourself 2 questions, just like I ask in the beginning of every episode. What behaviors reflect who I used to be? And then write those down. Then you ask, what behaviors reflect who I'm becoming? And you write that down. And then you look for the gaps. You identify the gaps, and then you fill in those gaps, because at the end of the day, only you can answer those questions. Okay. Step number 2, adopt a future CEO decision filter. Before every decision, ask yourself these questions. I'm full of questions. I always tell you, ask yourself questions, because if you don't ask yourself the hard questions, you can't evolve and you can't learn. So what would the 10 million or 50 million or $100 million version of me choose in this moment? Would she say yes or no? What does she tolerate? And who does she trust? Make your decisions from your future CEO self, not from your fear and not from who you are or where you are today. Step 3, upgrade your environment. Now, this is not a trick step, okay? It could be the people around you. It could be your office space. It could be even the city you live in. Your environment has to stretch you, challenge you, expand you, reflect your standards, and push you to do more. That could mean changing the people you're around. Remember, they say you hang around 5 broke people, you become broke too. Or it could be your environment in terms of the city. Maybe you're tapped out. When I lived in Atlanta a total of 17 years. The first time 15, second time 2. And even going back showed me that that was not my environment. Now, I don't down Atlanta. Atlanta's a wonderful city for other people. For me, I knew it wasn't for me. When I left and came to the West Coast, I just got this creative burst of energy and just this overwhelming feeling of making big things happen. And I've done big things since I've been in the West Coast. I got my trademark. I launched a magazine, relaunched a podcast. I've gotten some great clients. So it was definitely a great change of scenery for me. And let me share this with you. So when I first moved here, I moved into this townhouse in a part of town where when I woke up in the morning and looked out the window, I saw not just the sunrise, but the mountains. That had such a profound effect on my mood, my energy, my creativity. So for me, physically changing my space was how I upgraded my environment. Don't stay in spaces that shrink you or hinder your brilliance, your creativity, or your energy. Step 4, build the support that you deserve. Now I went on and on about don't hire administrative assistants and EAs and VAs and all that other stuff in my other episodes. But, every executive should have that. They should have executive assistants. They should have operators. What I mean by operators are people who make things happen, who move to put things in action. They need advisors, consultants, systems, structure. You cannot build a powerful identity while carrying everything alone. Ladies, especially my sisters out there, stop trying to carry the whole burden of your company on your back by yourself. You are not designed to be a one-woman show, and you are not designed to be the star of the show. I don't care how talented you are. You have to be able to have support. Step 5, and this is the final step. Practice power daily. Power is a muscle. A lot of people don't know that. It is, and you have to build it. I always put myself in a mindset that I'm looking at powerful images. I have a digital vision board, if you will, and I have a Pinterest account where I have powerful images there. I surround myself with powerful people. I read powerful content from powerful creators. I don't allow fluff in my orbit when it comes to my business. I look up to and I respect powerful women, and I study them. I always tell people, I don't think they believe me, but I study powerful people, especially powerful women and women of color, because I know that if they found a path, that I can find a path too. So how do you build your power muscle? You build it with boundaries, with decisions, firm decisions. You make a decision and you don't waver. Standards. Set the level of excellence that you have for yourself, your team, your company, your environment, your community, even your family. Communication. My daddy used to say, a closed mouth don't get fed. You have to ask for what you want, and you have to speak up for what you believe in. Leadership moments. How will you rise to the occasion when there's chaos or some kind of event that your team looks to you to solve? Saying no. Remember, no is a complete sentence. Raising your prices. Listen, I'm the furthest one to tell somebody what they feel that their service or product is worth. But if you charge low, people are automatically suspicious. If you charge too high, people won't see the value in it. So make sure you're setting your prices at the right level for what your value is and the results that you provide or your company provides. And stop thinking in terms of me, I. Your business is about a collective effort, not just you. Delegating. You have to trust people to do what they are hired to do. And trusting your team is part of that process of delegating. Remember, the goal is to get your hands off the day-to-day. You want to be able to free yourself to go do other things. Start a foundation, write a book, go speak, go teach. You can't do that if you are the day-to-day, if you are in every minute of the business. Every day is a rep, and rep shapes identity. So if you get comfortable with changing out the way you lead and the way you just operate day to day as a CEO, you can evolve. So let me leave you with this before I go. Your business has been waiting for a new version of you. Okay. You've been waiting for a new version of you, whether you know it or not. You can't do things if you are exhausted, overworked, or overwhelmed. You need to build a more powerful you, a more certain you, a more intentional you, a more strategic you, and a more embodied you. You are not becoming someone new. You're tapping into who you always have been, but for a greater elevated role. You're returning to the version of yourself that always existed beneath the fear, the expectations, the pressure, and the conditioning of other people, and self-inflicted. Your business will transform the moment that you do. Trust me when I say that. You'll see the changes almost instantaneously. When you start leading from a different level and a different mindset, girl, you don't know what you will be stepping into. So step into the identity that your next level requires, because the woman that you're becoming, she's already powerful. She's already ready, and she's already you. So I hope that this has allowed you to start your internal transformation that's required for you to lead your company at the highest level. If you have any questions or anything comes up that you are not feeling comfortable with, or if you're having problems shaking these old identities, give me a call. We do a full CEO advisory, kind of a guide, an advisory for our CEOs. So if you are ready to make that move, let us know. In the meantime, I want to hear how you plan to build your new identity. Leave a comment and make sure you like and subscribe and tell everybody else about the podcast. I'm Adrienne Graham, CEO and founder of Mogul Chicks, and this has been another Mogul Chicks Chat. I want to help you build a better, more profitable company. Make sure you check out the other episodes, and if you like what you hear, share the love. Pass the link on to your friends. You can find this podcast wherever podcasts are streamed, and of course on the Mogul Chicks website. Make sure you subscribe, and if you do, leave a comment on any or all of the channels. It helps other people find the podcast too. Sharing is caring. For more information about how we work with you to grow and scale your company, visit us online at mogulchicks.com. Send an email to contact@mogulchicks.com, or you can connect with us all over social media at Mogul Chicks. And remember, that's Mogul Chicks with an X. If you're not yet part of the Mogul Circle, if you're doing over $1 million in revenue annually, what are you waiting for? There's so much value in memberships and the community. If you prefer a good program or trying to move beyond startup phase, check out the Mogul Chicks Academy at mogulchicksacademy.com. I'll catch you on the next episode. And remember, Mogul Chicks are always a step ahead of the crowd, and they're always closing deals. Mogul Chicks make mogul moves and power plays. Your move. Now go be profitable. Bye.